Do you want to know how to tell if a kid is lying? Well, I'm Nicolene Peck and I'm a recovered liar. So that's a good thing. I know what people do when they lie, like firsthand. Plus, I took in foster children for lots of years who all had issues with lying. So in this video, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I have figured out with myself and with them that can help you better identify when a child is lying. People lie for different reasons, and there's different proficiency levels of lying. I'm going to say proficiency levels because people will say good liar versus bad liar, and if we understand lying, lying is not good. So I don't like to call it call a person a good liar, even though probably back in the day I considered myself to be a proficient or good liar. So depending on how skilled somebody is at lying can determine what type of characteristics that you might see. Probably the most important thing that a parent has going for them when they're trying to see if the child is lying is their ability to discern the truth. So a lot of parents are worried about saying something is a lie if they don't 100% know. And what happens is the child then gets away with lies on a regular basis, so they continue to try them because they work. Well, we don't want our child to think the lies work. Otherwise, they won't overcome the habit of lying, because lying becomes a habit very quickly, especially if it seems like something that got you what you wanted. It seems like developing a skill. So first off, discernment. How do you discern when someone is lying or not? Okay, we're going into now a spiritual realm here. So I'm a spiritual person and I do pray for direction from God. I pray to know if something is true or if it is not true. And I follow spiritual promptings on that. Now, each person has to understand the language of spiritual promptings for themselves. And so I'm not going to go into a big class about that, but if you are a spiritual person, pray and ask God to teach you how to know if something is true or if something is false. And then follow those feelings as best you can. Now, as a person who was a recovering liar myself, I could pick out a lie this fast because there are also other indicators of a lie, and because I had focused so much on going toward truth that then my little lie filter would just go off real quick if any of those foster children ever started telling me lies. And I want to be clear, it's not just troubled children that lie, but many children will experiment with lying. Usually when they're young, they'll start to experiment with lying just because maybe they're lazy, they want to get out of something, they don't want to get in trouble or something like that. And then when they're a little bit older sometimes, because they want more privileges and perks, they might experiment with lying or dishonest behavior again. But if it's nipped both of those times and it's not tolerated or laughed at or made to seem like it was effective, then usually the child does not become a liar. But if it is not addressed properly, and if the child is allowed to maintain that skill set, then the child becomes really proficient at their lying, and it ends up becoming a really destructive habit, usually very destructive for their relationships. I have a lot of other videos that talk about how to help a child stop lying, and so definitely see those videos because those are going to be really helpful. I'm not going to go into as much detail there. So in this video, let's talk about some of the other little factors that you can be looking for to try to discern if that child is lying to you. Before I get to this list of things that you can be looking for with your child, how about you leave me a comment below about what types of lies are concerning to you, or things that you think might be lies that you're not sure about, and I'll see if I can get to some of your questions. When you ask a person a question and they pause and their eyes shift, they shift down, that's really common for a lie. Sometimes when the eyes shift up, they're looking for like heavenly help. That can still be an indicator. But if the person doesn't make good eye contact with you, and if there's a little bit of a pause, then they might be trying to decide if they want to tell the truth or not. So at the end of that pause, you could get the truth, or it could be a lie. But the pause is an indicator that you might need to do some checking. Okay? Or that you might need to really work on discerning the phrase that comes out of their mouth next to see if you feel it is true or not. Another thing that happens for a person who is lying is oftentimes their breathing changes. They get a little bit more quick in their breathing, and lots of times their shoulders go up. They get a little bit more animated in their storytelling skills. And in fact, you oftentimes get more details. So after they've taken that second to think, you get all these details that a normal person wouldn't really tell you in that situation. So what they're doing, especially if they're a proficient liar, is they're starting to create the story, the big story that they think that you need in order to fully believe them. So a person who really is a liar will keep talking a lot to make sure that they've got you hook, line, and sinker, and you're not going to deviate from the story that they created. So watch out for too many details, too much talking. Another thing you want to watch out for is a lot of I. Oh, well, I did this. Well, I did this, and I did this. If they're talking about I too much, then chances are they're trying to scrub their character a little bit in front of you and making somebody else look bad or seem like they had no fault in anything. So when you're hearing a lot of I statements, that's usually a cover-up as well. Another thing that people do when they have the habit of lying is they'll keep everything straight faced up here, especially if they're really proficient liar, but they may do one thing, like maybe they shake their knee down lower. Or maybe they tap their finger on something when they're talking to you. There's a part of their body that will keep moving. Maybe it's the toe in their shoe and you don't see it, or the tongue in their mouth, but they will do something lots of times that a piece of their body will keep moving. This helps them formulate the lie that they're putting together in their head. They have to have some sort of an energy usually to feed off of. When a person is completely calm, they don't usually lie as well. So if you've been a liar before and overcome it yourself, you know what I'm talking about. There's this little ticker, this little thing that you might do that you hope nobody detects. But if you're looking at the person, oftentimes you can detect something is different. They're looking at me, they're keeping all this calm, but that foot's tapping, or they're holding onto the chair with this strange little moving grip. What's going on with that? And that might be an indicator that you need to ask more questions or just go straight to what hunch you have that they might be lying. So speaking of that hunch, it's super important that you do catch as many of those lies as possible. So even if you can't prove that a child has lied, it is important that you correct the lie and that you address that that is likely a lie. So I'm going to talk in another video about how to have this conversation with children, how to prepare to correct those problems, even if the child potentially did not lie, but just to make sure that the child gets every opportunity possible to correct the lying habit so that they can overcome that addiction that they might be developing to lying. So let's talk about consequences. Let's talk about how to correct this in my next video, which is called Why Kids Lie and How to Stop It. Click on that video now.